This is the thing. Like, if you learning to operate from the perspective of appreciating and just enjoying life as much as you can requires a lot of work and effort. It's not an easy shift to make. It took you an entire lifetime being conditioned by your family, conditioned by society, conditioned by your experiences to become the person you are. And that person is very well rooted in a mindset, a perspective, and a state of being that is the norm. It's the standard for you. And so that standard has to be changed. So when we try to change our standard of operating, our standard of being, it isn't going to be as simple as like flipping a switch. And a lot of people buy into the idea that they think it's that simple. If I think positive or I think great, everything changes and is positive. No. In fact, as soon as you actively engage in trying to feel better or feel good or feel better, I just say better than what you currently feel like, to feel better than what you currently feel like, the moment you try to actively change that, there's the snapback. What the snapback is, when you have been a person that has sustained a state of being for such a long time, the universe being a holographic mechanism that aligns to a reality that presents a type of reality that we are all engaged in, all participating with. When you've been operating a certain way for so long, that holographic universe, it only knows you to be that. It only knows you to be that person, those thoughts, those ideas, those feelings. And so the reality that you have is the one that you've self-induced, that you've created for yourself. When you want to change it, people at first put a lot of effort, especially after reading The Secret or watching the film. They start putting a lot of effort. Tomorrow's going to be the best day of my life, and everything's going to be changed after tomorrow. And tomorrow's the end. Tomorrow's the end of a bad period in my life, and it's the beginning of a good period in my life. The problem with that is that as soon as you make that kind of grand statement to the universe, tomorrow is going to be the best day ever, and nothing bad will happen to me after that, is the moment that you've basically stopped trying to operate in the way that the universe knows you to operate, and you start acting different. And when you start acting different, the universe immediately recognizes that something's changed or something's different and tries to realign things to what is. For example, think of the universe as kind of like one of those family members where you have always been talking about losing weight. Oh, I'm just going to lose weight, or I'm going to do this diet or do that diet. And then there's that person in the family who you start making headway, or you start feeling like you've lost weight, or you're making a change with something, and they have to remind you of what you were, or of how you've been, or of what was. They remind you. They don't let that go. And then it's almost like a snapback, and it makes you feel like crap. The universe has the same mechanism in place. There's a slapback, which means when I make a grand statement and I act like this is the moment that everything is drastically different, the universe is like, nope, sorry, you've been operating a certain way for so long. We only know how to operate with you in this form. We don't know this new way you're talking about. We don't even know what that has to do with anything. We only know what you've been. So we can only give you what you've been and what you know yourself to be, because you're so rooted in that. And so if you try to act like a different person or act like life is different for one day, it's not real. You haven't done it enough in your life. You haven't practiced it enough. You haven't done it in the littlest of moments in your life. And so it's not real. It's a fake version of yourself that you're trying to be. And at first, you do have to fake it till you make it. But it's a fake version of yourself. And so the universe is going to operate or honor. It's an honor system. It's going to honor what you've been, not what you're choosing to be in a moment that is drastically different from what you've been. So it's just going to naturally align to what has been. That's a slapback, because it's going to feel even worse when on that day or right after you make these grand statements, it's like the worst amount of crap starts to happen. All of a sudden there's way more shit that starts to come down, or all kinds of crap starts to happen all at once. And it's like, what the hell, universe? Like, I am trying, and it's like I can't get ahead. I can't get a break, and it's like I keep being slapped back, or it's like I have to take, I take one step forward, and then I have to take 3 steps back. Yeah, because you're still operating in some way on a subconscious level. You're still operating in an old form, even if you consciously are trying to operate differently. So what I recommend is, instead of making grand statements, don't be like my mom. Every Saturday, every Friday, every Saturday, my mom would say the same thing. Monday, I will start my diet. Monday, I will start my diet. I start my diet on Monday. I'm going to do it on Monday. Monday's the first day of the rest of my life. Monday's the first day of me being a skinny person. So every single Monday, she'd overeat more than ever. And then the day or two after that, it would be the hardest days for her with her eating habits, because there was a big slap back with her. So same thing, energy. If you want to change the energy in your life, don't worry about making big statements. Don't worry about tomorrow is going to be the best day ever. No, just worry about making something better that wasn't that better before. And just focus on one little thing or one little change. So, you know what? Normally, and here's an example of how I've done this for myself. Back at Starbucks, working in the morning, I'd have to wake up at like 4 o'clock to get to work at 4:30 to start opening everything up and to be able to prep for all the customers. I did everything in my power to try to be a morning person, and on the way to work, because I just hated going to work at that point, I would listen to music to shift my feelings, because I wanted to feel better about having to work at a job I didn't like working and I didn't want to go to begin with. So I would have to work on that. I would have to shift my feelings. I would listen to music that would pep me up, or I would listen to music that inspired me and made me feel connected to New Mexico, or made me feel connected to having my own business and being able to make my own schedule and being able to do what I love doing, instead of having to just, work in customer service or work in like a sales job or work in like, management. And I would pep myself up, and then either I would try to just make myself feel better, or I would use the music to help me feel the connection to what I'm doing right now. And I would dream about what I'm doing right now. This is what I wanted. So once I got to work, then I was the lead, and because it was my store, I was the manager and store manager. And so all the other partners were not morning people either, but they would feed off of my energy, and I would raise the energy for everybody that was starting the morning with me as well. But by default, I've come to realize and accept the fact that I'm just not a morning person today. And when I was able to leave my job at Starbucks and start to do this full time, I still wasn't a morning person, but I was scheduling morning appointments starting at 8 o'clock. So I still have to wake up early, because I wanted to get all of my appointments done earlier in the day, and that way I would have the afternoons off. And so that was great, but I didn't enjoy waking up that early. And I'm like, why am I punishing myself? Why am I putting myself through this? I'm like, it's my business, it's my hours, I get to call the shots. So why don't I just go with the flow of what's natural for me? And so I changed my schedule. And now I don't start working until 11 o'clock my time. And so I wake up every day at 6:55 by default, naturally, on my own. And I wake up and I go through a routine. I love my routine, because my routine is me doing a bunch of little things that I enjoy. Having my cup of coffee, spending some time with the kiddies, catching up on news drama for a moment before it starts to drive me crazy. Reading a book. I read in the mornings. I read stories and stuff like that because I enjoy reading like that. The other day I started yoga back up again. I haven't done yoga in years. I'm like, I'm gonna start yoga again. So I started doing yoga again. And so I do little things that I enjoy. And what I've found is that if I start off my day in the right state of mind, it tends to carry over and carry on through the rest of the day. And so I try to practice the little moments as often as possible, and I try to fill my whole day with little moments. And so I give myself little moments of joy, little moments of experience of things throughout the day. And as you do it more, it'll build up into a full day's worth of experiences, and you'll have less experiences. And this is what I mentioned before, less experiences freaking out or stressing over the crazy things, or the things you don't have control over, or the things that just have to be dealt with and then be done with. And you'll have more of these moments where it's just a bunch of joyful or enjoyable experiences. And then that becomes the trend, and that becomes the norm. And then if you practice it enough, if you do it enough, you start to build into a state of being. And the standard is, I'm good. Most of my days are good. Most of my experiences are good. But it takes practice. If you just start with a grand statement, you're going to get a slap back, and then the next day, it's going to seem like all hell broke loose the day after you announced that everything was going to be perfect and life was amazing. I've seen it over and over again, not only in my life when I first started doing this, but also for people who were my friends who were practicing law of attraction and that as well. They would always have a slap back as soon as they decided they were going to start operating differently, but they've been doing the same thing for years.